Hello, my name is Shaidah and I would like to thank you for joining the Community Mental Health Educational Film Series. The topic of this series is building relationships with people who have a mental disorder within our community. Mental disorders are actually very common, more common than people think. However, mental health is still not openly discussed in a variety of settings that we normally interact with, such as within our families or even on the job or in our career settings. And while mental challenges are not openly discussed in our communities, people with extreme mental disorders are usually shunned, ignored, belittled, given up on, or not seen as fully human or capable. And so now we see an overrepresentation of people with mental disorders in our prison system, and we also see the overrepresentation of people living on the streets with mental disorders. This means that mental disorders are being criminalized, and they're also being excluded. They're being treated like current day leopards of society. I believe this treatment to be due to miseducation, undereducation, or just from a lack of care and concern. Historically, we have seen things such as mutations, genocides that have occurred to people with mental disorders. So more specifically, the topic of this series is the community members' role in the social integration process of people with a mental disorder for the development of social relations that are supportive of a stronger community and therefore supportive of psychological well-being. This series is about how to build unity. Historian and educator Dr. Asa G. Hilliard emphasizes in his teachings over and over that a society and the communities within cannot be excellent without unity. He quotes, "Ancient African civilization processes show us that communities can function and be productive when everyone, young and old, has a sense of purpose and a value that contributes to the community's well-being. It is in your community that you find purpose, learn your expectations for life, and also develop a basic appreciation for life." This is further supported by Carol Reed, who did a systematic review of theories and perspectives in psychology, where she identified 6 broad categories associated with optimal psychological well-being. Communities, relationships with people around us, this is an unavoidable need. We need this in order to live fulfilling lives, and that goes for everybody, whether you live with a mental disorder or not. Therefore, the target audience for this video series is the community member. The community member who's a part of a family, who has a neighborhood community, their job community. If you say you're a community member, this video is for you. Keep in mind that though we will talk about symptoms, causes, and treatments for mental disorders in this series, we are not here to diagnose anybody. However, we're here to develop our innate human abilities to connect with others, to give of our strengths to others' weaknesses, and to receive of others' strengths for our weaknesses. We're here to develop this. This is called unity. Before getting into the series, I would like to share a little bit about me and what motivates me to do this. From a very young age, I've always said I wanted to help people who cannot help themselves. I soon came to find out that that meant helping people with mental disorders, because what makes them particularly vulnerable is their lack of ability to be able to express themselves given the mental disorders they're facing. The need to address inequalities that people with mental disorders face and advocate for them came strongly to me when my brother was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. And so now I would like you to check out this interview with him. So how has your understanding of your mental disorder changed since you found out you had a diagnosis, or even speculations of a diagnosis? Because I know that when you first start experiencing challenges, people were saying you had different things.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things was finding out that mental disorder has a physical component too, so it can also be considered a physical disorder. That was something that was pretty big to me.
Or
changes in your brain chemistry, and so that's it's physiological stuff happening. Well, yeah, before I was diagnosed, and whenever I heard about people taking medication, I was totally against it. I was always like nervous because you hear things about people taking medication and then they're all zoned out and they're not able to really communicate with you well, and you just hear about negative side effects.
Right.
And I never really wanted to do it, but counseling and medication together, it helps a lot.
Okay, so that's helped you, like pairing medication with counseling.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you describe what it's like to interact with people who might not understand your challenges? So whether it be with family members or in communities.
Well, now that I've been diagnosed for over a year, I'm starting to get more used to it. But I think what would be difficult for people is on the onset of mental illness and not understanding what's going on yourself. Like, what are these changes happening to you? I remember on the onset of mine, I started hearing voices, and I didn't know what schizophrenia was. So it was a really scary thing for me. I was nervous to look at people in their eyes, because I heard voices speaking everything that I was looking at. I was hearing another second thought actually explaining what it was, but it sounded like somebody else was in my head talking, and I heard threats, and so that was a part of the diagnosis, paranoid schizophrenia.
Okay.
And I'm blessed because my mom was a strong proponent for me wanting to receive counseling. If I were just on my own, I would have never really thought to be institutionalized and to go through the process of starting to get medication in the first place and actually just taking the time out to go through that process. I wouldn't have known what to do.
Me and your mom having an advocate for you who could see what was the best thing for you at that time.
Yes.
So somebody who cared about you and wanted the best for you and could motivate you and encourage you to go get professional help.
And everybody doesn't have that, unfortunately.
Yeah, everybody does not have that.
I really couldn't imagine going through this on my own. I was overwhelmed by hearing voices and different inputs.
I'm very proud of my brother for how far he has come in managing his own mental health. I'm also proud of my family for stepping up and taking the initiative to give of their strengths to his weaknesses so that we may too receive of his strengths for our weaknesses. Vulnerability is something that we all experience, and when we learn to understand our own vulnerability is then we'll be able to receive the strengths that we need to make up for that. So I hope you enjoy the Community Mental Health Educational Film Series, and that encourages you to self-reflect and to research more in your life and apply some of these skills in your community. Enjoy.